What's up, guys? This is going to be vlog number 1, and today I'm looking to get into the 5-5 cash game over at SA Card House, and my buddy Matt is going to be going ahead and playing the 250K guarantee over there, and so hopefully we'll be able to sweat a few of his hands and we'll get some of my hands. But before we get started with all that, it's time to get in the gym and just kind of get my mind right.
Right now I'm headed to the 250K guarantee tournament at SA Card House. I'll get there a little early, so I'll probably pull a 1-2, maybe 5-5. Wish me luck.
So just got done at the gym not too long ago. Tried to film a good portion of that, but unfortunately got shut down pretty quickly. Not too sure exactly what I thought was going to happen there. But I did hear that there is a 5-5 game going on right now at SA Card House. So yeah, let's go hop in. So good to go. So after sitting down at the 5-5 table, we pick up our first hand. We look down at ace queen offsuit from under the gun +1, and we go ahead and raise it up to $20. Only the middle position player and the cutoff call. So we're 3 ways to a flop, which comes down pretty nice. Ace 7-9 rainbow. And we're gonna be going ahead and looking to put in some more money on this flop. Because the flop is kind of dry, we're gonna go ahead and bet $35 here. So the middle position player calls, and the cutoff goes ahead and decides to raise to about $100. So I'm not loving the situation because I actually know the cutoff pretty well, and being as the board is pretty dry and this player is pretty tight, I think we're just gonna go ahead and lay it down and look for a better spot later on. I feel like he's gonna have a lot of sets here. I haven't really seen him get too out of line, and being as there aren't too many draws here, I can't really see him re-raising with those. Later on, the cutoff ends up showing ace queen, so we were actually chopping at best, and I can't really see him raising ace jack here or any combo like that. I think he's just gonna have a lot of sets and ace queen here, so I really feel like we're just chopping at best. So I think the best play there was just make the laydown and just wait for the next hand.
So we were pretty short stacked at this point when I pick up king queen off in late position, and there's an early position raised to 1K, and the blinds are 200, 400 with a 400 big blind ante. So when there's an EP open for 1K, I actually just decide to just flat here instead of shoving. I have 6K effective. It might be a shove now that I think back on it, instead of just flatting and playing a big pot with just SPR of like 1. But anyway, I just call, and a couple other people call too. We go 4 ways to the flop, which comes 10-10 jack rainbow. So I flop the open ender with 2 overcards. The pre-flop raiser actually decides to check instead of throwing out a c-bet. I check, the button goes ahead and stabs for 2K into 4K, and everyone folds back to me. I could call and just see turns, but I want to see all, the rest of the turn and the river. So I decided to check shove here just to realize all my equity. And if he folds, whatever reason, then great result too. So we go ahead and check shove, and he thinks about it for a little bit and just decides to make the call because he realizes it was only like 3K more. And he did. He had jack 6 off. Not sure what he was doing with that hand pre-flop in the first place, but we go ahead and flip our hands over, and turn comes a queen. So we make top pair on the turn, and he's actually drawing dead to a jack, and the river comes and it's an 8. So we hold and double up with that. So after that king queen double up, I pick up 10-4 of diamonds. I check my option, and the flop comes pretty good. It's 8-9 queen with 2 diamonds. So I flop the flush draw plus gutter. I go ahead and lead out for 3,500 into 5K, just hoping to take it down, but if I get shoved down, I still have a lot of equity. That's exactly what happens. There's a small stack who shoves over the top of my raise, and he actually has me covered, just barely. It folds back around to me, and getting a little over 3-1, I obviously am calling with this combo draw and just hoping to hit. And so I go ahead and call it off, and he turns over jack 10 offsuit. So we're not looking too good. He flopped the nuts. We're drawing to a chop on the gutter. So we're pretty much just drawing to the diamonds. The turn and river are complete bricks, so we don't make the flush, and we do not improve. So that's all she wrote for the tournament. We are out of the 250K guarantee.
Okay, so for this hand, there's actually a under the gun $10 straddle, and under the gun +1 goes ahead and limps, and we are in the cutoff with king queen offsuit. And so I go ahead and elect to raise to about $50, and to my surprise, the action folds all the way back around to the under the gun straddler, who goes ahead and makes it 110. So the under the gun +1 limper goes ahead and folds, and when it comes back to me, I'm not really in love with the situation, but he's starting to do a lot of talking. And the way this player's been playing, I feel like he's kind of been splashing around a little bit. He's been in a lot of pots, playing pretty loose. And also for the price, I just don't think I can really fold. Calling about 60 more to win 180. So getting a pretty good price here. I'm just gonna go ahead and complete here. And so we go heads up to the flop, which actually comes down ace of clubs, 9 of clubs, 2 of spades. And he goes ahead and checks it over to me. And so when he does this, I can try to stab here, but given the fact that he has the betting lead and he's checked this flop, and it's pretty wet flop, I feel like he might actually have some pretty decent hands here. He could have aces and kings or queens or jacks or tens and just kind of be trapping right now and be looking for a bet. I go ahead and just check behind. The turn is actually a king, which is an interesting card because now we make top pair, but we were originally worried that he might have a hand like ace king, and he goes ahead and checks to me. So I'm not thinking he has much, but I'm kind of worried that if I down bet here into this pot, that he might perceive that as weakness and go ahead and check raise, and then I might be forced to call and be completely dominated or fold the best hand. I really think the best option here would have actually been checking behind, but I actually decide to bet $150. And the reason I do this is I wanted to actually take bluffs out of his range. I understand that this isn't the most optimal way to play this hand, but I just didn't want to be raised and have to fold. And if I bet $150 and he raises, I'm fairly confident that he has the best hand. So that's what I do. I go ahead and bet out $150, and he goes ahead and decides on a fold. Not too sure about how I played it. Like I said, I think probably a check back on the turn would have been the best play there. But it might be good to get some feedback maybe in the comments. Maybe let me know what y'all think about that hand. I'm thinking maybe a check back on the turn or a much smaller sizing.
So in this next hand of the cash game session, we pick up king, queen offsuit, king of spades, queen of diamonds in the small blind. There is an under the gun opener for 20 and the button calls. I think about 3-betting, but given that he's under the gun, his range is just really strong, so I decided to just flat. And Avi right next to me flats as well in the big blind. The flop comes pretty good for our hand. It's 8-9 jack with 2 spades. So we pick up 2 overs, a gutter to the nut straight, and a backdoor flush draw, backdoor second nut flush draw. And so we go ahead and check this one. Avi checks, and the under the gun opener checks as well. He doesn't c-bet. The button now decides to stab, and he bets 60 into 80. And given all the backdoor potential, gutter, and all the equity we have, we decided to float this one. And Avi folds, and the under the gun opener decides to call as well. So we go 3 ways to the turn, which is a complete brick. It's an offsuit 6. I think about leading here, but end up deciding just to check it. The under the gun opener checks as well, and the button checks back. So at this point, I don't think the button has a value hand, because given that this turn is a complete brick, he would definitely be charging draws if he had a value hand. So when the river comes and it's a 9 of spades, that's a really good card for my range because I have a lot of 9s, and I also have a lot of flushes in my range. I do have the king of spades blocker, so I block some flushes. I have the queen, so I blocked some straight combos as well. So I decided to turn my king high into a bluff here and bet half pot, 130. I decided not to bet like 260 or full pot because I don't want to polarize, and I know that the button is actually, he's a reg, he's a good thinking player. So I'd rather leave my range open to have some 9s in it as well, rather than just boats and flushes. So I go ahead and bet 130, make it look like a value bet, and the under the gun opener decides to fold rather quickly, and the button tanks for a really long time. and he eventually lets it go. So we get that one through and are up about $500 on the session already.
So it's getting pretty late and I'm looking to close out the session when I look down at pocket queens from middle position. There's a button straddle for $10 and the under the gun player limps and under the gun +1 player limps as well. I'm gonna go ahead and decide to raise to about $50 here. Action folds back to the button. He looks like he's going for a raise, but decides on just flatting instead. Now the action folds back to the under the gun +1 player who completes. So we're 3 ways to the flop, about $170 in the pot, and the flop comes down 4-5-5 rainbow. The under the gun +1 player checks to me. We're gonna go ahead and down bet to $60 here, and the button goes ahead and pretty much instantly folds, and the under the gun +1 player decides on a jam. So not really too much to think about here. Looks like he jammed for about $170, maybe $200 tops. I think when I bet that small bet sizing, I think he's gonna be thinking I'm pretty weak here, so we're just gonna go ahead and make the call here without really too much hesitation. And the turn is a king, which is not the best card in the deck. And when the king comes out, he starts to grab his hand to look like he's getting ready to table it. And the river is a queen, boating us up, and he actually turns over king 7 offsuit. So we were actually in big trouble there for a second. He turned that king, but we end up rivering the boat, and I would have been pretty frustrated had that have been how the pot had gone. And thankfully, that is not how that worked out, and we scoop up a pretty nice pot to finish out the session.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
And that is gonna be a wrap on our first video. Let me know what kind of content y'all would like to see in the future. Obviously, comment down below, like, and subscribe. That really helps a ton. So the next video is gonna be the 5-5 meetup game over at Rounders. Brad Owen, Andrew Nemi, and Johnny Vibe should all be there. So hoping to get a lot of good footage of that. And just thanks for watching, y'all.